I love it. Yes, it's not here because I lived in Houston before West Texas. Oh yeah. So West Texas, I think, got me prepared for.
I don't think I want to live in Houston.
No, like years, and so I don't want to deal with hurricanes and all that mess. I just want to live and love on my puppies. That's right. I don't ask for much.
You said you ask for much, you just want to be loved. You don't want no trouble.
That's right. My 3 fur babies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I had a stepdaughter for 8.5 years. She was my birth control. But actually, she was the reason I divorced her daddy. Not her fault, just over issues with her. But oh yeah, being a step parent is not an easy thing to do. But I'm actually gonna go there Friday to Galveston and after work, and we're gonna go see a double feature on Stewart Beach. It's gonna be a show Grease and Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm so excited. So yeah. And once I divorced her dad, everyone got along with her. His mom just passed away a couple of weeks ago, and I went down to the funeral. So I've been divorced 17 years. But
you know how to be nice then.
Oh yeah. You know, being mean is just so not necessary.
Yeah, I've been there, you know, being a stepmom. Sometimes it can be a prick, you know.
September 29, 2020, yeah, it's not, but you know, the thing, and I try to tell people, my stepdaughter had her mom in her ear the whole time.
Oh, yeah, that's how they go.
And, but obviously I did something right because my stepdaughter came back around to me when it was, you know, again, I was mean, I was strict, but it was, I would have done the same to my own kid. I was firm and consistent.
There you go. Yeah, but see, and when it's always the mom around, it's gonna be caca.
Yeah.
For some reason, maybe the mom's really bad. I don't know. It's just a lot of the big things they do for whatever reason.
But I tell my stepdaughter all the time, I consider her my stepdaughter still, but I tell her all the time that I'm so proud of her because she has a son. He just turned, I think he just turned 8. And so there's no reason I was in his life. I was divorced from her dad for 17 years.
Right.
But the way she looks at it is, if somebody wants to be good to her son and wants to love on him and be a positive influence, she's not gonna stop it.
There you go.
You know, and her mom still tries to get between me and her.
And she's like, by you. The mom's still intimidated by you. You went on about your.
And it's like, I don't want your ex anymore because he's my ex now. Duh, get that shit.
Right, that's what she has some kind of personal vendetta against you.
It's all good. That's her problem, not mine.
Whatever, huh?
I don't do drama.
You are something else and I love it. I love it, I tell you, it's hard to find good people. You just.
Well, that's what I do. I try to be good.
You have a good personality.
Well, thank you. Likewise.
Thank you. Have you been having a lot of people for what?
We're pretty busy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're pretty busy.
They say the COVID making everybody get a divorce.
So it might be a point.
That's what I heard.
It might have a point.
So they did away with the fair, huh?
Say that again?
They're not gonna have the fair. But I think that somebody said it's gonna still do it in Walker County though.
I'm allergic to horses and cows. And
Are you?
I don't care. I wasn't gonna go to it anyway.
Either way the wind blow, you good, huh?
Yeah.
I hear you. No, going to the fair, everything was free. Now everything got a price. I think you have to pay the park and pay to get in, and it's just a lot.
I used to go to the rodeo in Houston, and even like way up at the top, I still get sick because I have asthma, and so it triggers my asthma.
No, I never did get into that. I like to wear the Western stuff, but I'm scared of horses, believe it or not.
Oh, I think they're gorgeous. Just I can't be around them.
Yeah, I'm scared of them. So do they have divorce court once a week or just once a month?
Just whenever I set them.
Oh, okay. I like your eyes on the back of your back.
After
Does that
I,
hurt?
no, but after I set it up,
Hey, I like that.
I have to show you the rest of it.
Oh, I'm scared. How many you have?
Oh, I have a whole bunch.
You like me, I got carried away and I quit. I think tattoos is like drugs. I'm getting that one there, I'm getting that one.
Oh, they're very addictive.
I know,
Yeah.
I had to break myself up. I did. And every time we go, we say, you get that one there, get that one. And I took a big break though. I stopped, I started in 92 and I didn't go back until like 2004. And I said, Mother's Day, my mom, give me a tattoo, because I had been forever without it. So I ended up giving me a little butterfly, a little Chinese something on the back. You know how to go and fade it into black glue, whatever it is.
Right.
Not been back since.
It took me a long time to get out of court reporting school, so I knew when I got out what I was gonna get. I'm fixing to show you. Today's date, September 29th, 2024. And so whenever I got out, I knew what I was gonna get down my back, because I have so much pain in my back from my job. And
I like your accent. Where are you from? You have a good accent. Nobody ever told you that?
no,
No, serious.
I'm Mexican, 100% Mexican,
Are you?
but I was raised by white people.
Okay, you have an accent like you from to be Louisiana.
Oh, I wish.
Yeah, you have a little accent. I get that.
So-
People tell me, you got an accent. I said, whatever. Where are you from? I used to always keep my hair braided, so they thought I was from the islands or something.
Oh, how funny.
And I'm like, no. And I get this all the time. I said, I don't know why, but could be a conversation piece. Most of the guys ask that. Where you from? Where you from? Conversation piece.
Now, my sister, I was born in Laredo, and my sister still lives there.
Accent.
She has a very thick Mexican accent,
Really?
and I don't, because I wasn't raised speaking Spanish, you know? So I always
Do you
say,
understand it? I have a friend like that. She don't speak it, she don't understand it, she speaks Spanish.
I was raised in children's homes and foster homes, so I wasn't raised by my parents. And so I didn't have that influence, you know?
I can understand when I can speak it, but you have an accent, that's why I was saying, where are you from?
Could it be a country accent?
It could, it's kind of, it's sexy though, like you could, that's what I thought maybe you was from Louisiana.
Now, if I can just get those men to think that.
Oh, yeah, great, well.
Yeah. Although I only want them to understand so I can tell them to kiss my butt.
They were having to find some good ones, but most of them were great.
Mine became good after I was done with them.
Oh, yeah, that's how you do it, huh?
And when I'm done, I'm done.
That's it, no back and forth, huh? That's the problem. Back and forth, no bueno.
I am going to go and get all the rest of my stuff, and I will be back up here. He'll probably do yours first. Now, do you have the script?
I do, tell me if this the right one, because they told me. Okay, this has been a headache for me with this bunch of out. I found myself being prepared with, when I came, she told me to bring all of this back, so I didn't want to leave nothing, I know I ain't gonna need this.
Now,
She said I need to bring a bond, is that the right one? So I didn't put a date on here because I didn't know if this was, I
yeah,
supposed to put the date on that.
I'm not sure.
But this supposed to be the final decree, right?
I would think so,
Okay.
yeah. But you have to have it filled out and filed with the clerk's office before, fill it before. But there's a script that tells, my name is so-and-so on the petition.
Okay, this not the prayer thing? Did she tell me to get this prayer? I never even heard of that. So she said me to.
No. Let me go, do you have kids or not?
I know, no kids, so.
I don't know if I have one without kids, let me go try to find one.
Okay, you are such a blessing, because I want to get this. Almost close. I wanna get to-
Not
Okay.
a problem at all.
Okay, but is this the one that's for the final decree? Because she told me I need to have this, I need to. fill
Yeah,
this
that's,
out
yeah,
now?
yeah.
Can I do it out
Well, you
now?
don't have to fill it now, just get before you file it, you need to fill it out.
Okay, so I gotta do some more filing after.
Yeah, because when you guys fill it, as a matter of fact, you might as well go ahead and fill it out. You're gonna have to see it up here because the judge, in order for the judge to sign it,
Okay,
he's gonna
so, okay, so this is, told me, this is everything that's done on here. So this is my last part, right? I can take it out, right?
I almost want to say, you may want to go to the clerk's office and double check, because I don't know what else they
See, she
require.
told me to, this is all my file, the beginning of it. Okay, after I did all this, she told me,
Yeah.
he has to sign this waiver. So I got it, okay, and then she signed me the, this here, whatever this is, I don't even know what this is. Tell me to fill it out, no kids,
Okay.
so I put much as I can do.
Right.
And then she signed me the final degree.
Yeah, this will be your final decree,
Okay,
but he didn't sign it.
the final degree?
Yeah, he would need to sign the final decree as well. So I don't think this is good enough for the final decree.
Okay, but she was saying this, that he had to sign a waiver, so the waiver don't count?
Yeah, he signed the waiver, that's fine, but
Okay.
you still have the final decree
That he have to
that
sign?
both of y'all still have to sign. You may want to, let's go downstairs because they may be able to tell you more. I don't know, I don't do the filing of the paperwork, so I don't really see that in it. Oh, real quick, so down my back is my steno,
Oh, shit.
and that says I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
That's
And my court report steno.
okay, okay, so let me come behind you
Yeah.
and bring this, I'm going to double check this.
And that's not whatever you call it, your hearing date. I can't give you advice on that. As far as what needs to be done on that.
So you said I might have a wrong thing.
Well, no, I mean, he can still divorce you, if somebody gets that divorce decree and signs that, you're not technically divorced, so you can still do whatever today. And then you just need to make sure you get divorced beside your house.
I mean, I don't know, it's too
Wait, over.
I don't want to miss it.
At least,
No,
You sit here, I'll sit on the end. Yeah, you sit here, and I'll sit here. Right, you sit here. And that way, you know, I can talk.
Yes, that one, 20 years. The back region.
Yeah. This is the this is the
I was the spring.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. Okay, so yes. Right, we do something. Best exhibit more excellent. You recognize that's what is.
But the other thing is.
We're not gonna be able to stop it. But,
You're gonna raise a big issue that's irrelevant, but I think it is relevant. Just, videos and, you know, the video, actually, the video.
we have lots of pictures that, include Michael's profiles. And I would imagine, that the judge probably asked him some questions about Tom.
Yeah, she asked the girls about it. The only thing is telling about, I mean, they didn't share very much of that with me.
You do?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It honestly,
He did.
All you have to do is take a look at some pictures that we had that I think are some exhibits that have micro girls in. At least they, I know soon some of those were in the exhibits.
Yeah. So, yeah, everything's in. Okay, so anytime I ask the class, we use the lesson chemistry to get rid of the proceeds check. Number two. Just ask me. We use this company check. Same thing in the three, which is the one we want to schedule. And then
can you also ask? It's a big deal.
yeah, you said something about number. Keep recording and
And the reason I.
Now, the judge specifically said no recordings when you were here last time.
well, it's pretty much, yeah, it's like, well, it's all down like it because.
Right, but, we answered, I remember that, he said no recordings. And we responded to understand. And I think validly too, but I didn't really see that lady who you responded or Stephanie or Robert. If he did, that would be probably a good question.
That would get you in jail there still.
So I think that that's a question we probably want to ask.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good morning.
Morning. Yeah, there's like the county, one of the courthouse. Sometimes gets a little.
Did everybody enjoy a nice cool morning?
Oh, yeah, it's great. You know, I'll be seated.
Is that just a big bottle of water?
Sure, yeah.
It's a big bottle of water.
We'll leave it at that.
Do it every day.
No, one day.
I give her a hard time, you know, she's got the same thing. At 5 o'clock, she's probably about 3 hours behind.
I'm trying to stay ahead.
Well, I wonder why she's on the bathroom. Good morning. Good morning.
Before we go on the record, I know we hopefully resolved a few things last time with some money, so I guess what do you have left today for us to talk about?
Judge, we were able to get Mr. Bagnell served sufficient on, I think, the 19th of September. So we've got some issues. One, modification of the temporary orders and getting away with the temporary restraining order on the money. And then the sanctions for that. And then also on the enforcement for child support. The child support has all been paid. The attorney's fees that we're doing, the temporary restraint, the temporary orders originally has been paid.
Okay.
The $20,000 to Chase has been paid.
Okay.
So all those issues should go pretty fast since we're I guess there's no objection to that. We can just get the evidence in as far as backup for that. Same thing with the medical. All the medical that had to be reimbursed has been reimbursed to Mrs. Bagnell or to Mrs. Bolton. And now, let's see. The last thing I think is the modification of the possession and access. We would like to change that from first and third to second and fourth. As Mr. Bolton has a daughter who he has on the second and fourth, and she's best friends with the youngest back there. I think that's it.
Okay, so you got modify the temporary orders. What's the modification to temporary order that you're?
Well, the modification is we want the temporary restraining order dismissed and allow the money that's in the registry of the court to be dispersed. My client has been deprived of the use of that money.
I mean, I'm not, I'll find out from Mr. Ballard. I'm not anticipating, since his client's going to get something too. But there's not going to be a big problem that. So if the temporary restraining order is dismissed, we disperse the money. So what are the sanctions you're asking for?
Your Honor, we would ask sanctions, what the court, whatever the court approves. Of course, we would like it to be significant. It was the temporary restraining order was granted ex parte based upon allegations and an affidavit that Mr. Bagnall signed alleging that my client had withheld or hidden assets during the divorce. There's been no evidence provided for that.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll give you a chance to give an opening. Right now, I'm just asking what relief you're asking for.
We're
So
asking for attorney's fees. From that, we're asking for sanctions, monetary sanctions for false swearing in the affidavit, and for her being deprived of the use of those funds for almost 6 months
okay, and on the child support enforcement.
now. The child support enforcement, we're asking just for sanctions on that, Judge, based upon times Mr. Bagnall is chronically late on his child
Okay.
support.
Like I said, and you can fill in the blanks later. Right now, I'm just trying to see what you have.
Sanctions and attorney's fees on that.
Okay.
And
About the medical and.
and same with the medical. But all those funds have already been paid over, so there's no money except for the sanction part and the attorney's fees.
Okay, and then modifying possession first and third, second and fourth.
Yes, Judge.
Okay, anything else that you'll be asking for?
We're asking in the modification that the children not be around the maternal grandparents because of the toxic relationship between them and their grandparents, and that Mr. Biden will not take the kids or the children around his girlfriend who's living not divorced.
Anything else? Okay, and then Mr. Ballard, what are you asking for today?
Yes, sir. Judge, our first motion that we have on file was a motion of enforcement by contempt for Mrs. Bolton withholding the children from Mr. Bolton. We still have, as an issue, a motion for new trial on the original divorce decree. We have a petition to modify. We're asking in our modification that we change the pickup and drop off location for the children, which I believe is, I think we all sort of agree on that, if I'm not mistaken. I think the question is maybe where. We are asking the court to enter an injunction against Mr. Michael Bolton from being around Mr. Bagnall, and standard injunctions prohibiting him from committing acts of violence or speaking to Mr. Bagnall in any inappropriate, threatening, harmful manner. We gave injunctions prohibiting him from being in the vicinity or Mr. Bagnall would be appropriate. And we are also asking for a modification of the current child support. We're asking that the support be lowered based on the material change in circumstances of Mr. Bagnall's employment, or lack thereof at this point. Those are the motions that we are asking. That's what we're asking the court to do today. With regard to the monies that are or were deposited in the registry of the court, it is my understanding that the $20,000 has been paid out of the registry of the court to satisfy the obligation. The question now remains, number one, my client was entitled to offsets against that for a final calculation of distribution, which we will present evidence that the offsets that were afforded in the final decree of divorce were paid in the calculations. We have a calculation for the court to consider on a final distribution of those funds. However, prior to getting to that question, we currently have a motion for enforcement of property based on a clause that was in the final period of divorce regarding not disclosing assets. That petition was filed. We did get a restraining order. It was an ex parte order. Basically, the order read that the checks would not be cashed for prohibiting each party from cashing the checks once they were dispersed from the title company. Procedurally, from that point and that cause of action, we entered into temporary. So it's my position that we are currently under temporary orders on a completely new cause of action. And I would be objecting to the court making any ruling on that because, from my perspective and position, we're entitled to a trial on the merits of this case. And we are currently entered into a temporary one. And I know the court pointed out, I'm sure Mr. Bagnell wouldn't object to be receiving money. The reason why we've asked the money to be placed in the registry of the court is that if we are successful in our claim, we believe we will be successful in our claim, that those monies that are in the registry of the court will be the only source of restitution that my client will be entitled to. We do not know whether Mrs. Bolton is solvent or insolvent at this time. However, the money that's into the registry of the court does represent what we believe my client would be entitled to some of or all of should we prevail on a cause of action. So I would object to hearing any evidence on that to dispose of that case based on the fact that we're entitled to a final hearing, we're entitled to conduct discovery, we are entitled to have a hearing on the merits of the case. We're also entitled to 45 days notice prior to a final hearing. We haven't received that notice. Our discovery, we are in the process of conducting discovery. We have dozens of subpoenas out. We are receiving information from the banks where we believe that assets were being held at the time of during the divorce when the discovery period was open. We are getting a negative response at this point as far as when we're going to receive the information. Because of COVID-19, banks are understaffed, they're behind on what they're doing. That's another issue. However, I would object to us having any hearing on the final merits of this case. I would also suggest to the court that the proper way to dispose of this case, according to the rules of civil procedure, would not be a motion to just terminate everything. It would be a motion for summary judgment. I have not seen a motion for summary judgment filed. I would object to having any ruling today on the final disposition of that portion of the case.
Okay, now the case we have today, I realize there's still divorce issues, but it's the interest of the two kids, ends in 7183. So you said it's a new case. Do you have a new case with a new number, or is it filed in that case?
On the same cause. I would also agree with Mr. Mann that the issues of what is owed in support and medical, we resolved that last hearing, and I think we can all agree that the balance is zero on that. So we do agree on that portion of it.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. So this is clause number 2018L7183 in the interest of OFB and SEB children. We have everyone announcements here.
James Mahan on behalf of Stephanie Bolton, biological mother of children.
This is Brian Rowe, also on behalf of Stephanie Bolton. Scott Ballard, attorney for Mr. Robert Beck.
All right, so Mr. Mahan, what witnesses will you have?
Just myself and
And Mr. Ballard?
Be myself and Mr. Bagnell at this time, yes.
All right, well, I can get those witnesses then to stand and raise their right hands. Do you and each of you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yeah.
All right, so since these are all parties, you shouldn't need the rule and vote. And Mr. Mahan, you want to call your first witness?
Judge, one other thing I forgot to mention, we did have a motion for trial on file with the court, which is now moved. The purchase the sale of the homestead was the purpose of that, to keep the court's plenary power in the case, and since the house has been sold to us, the registry court would not withdraw our motion. And since my client has been married.
And who's your first witness?
And I would call Stephanie Bolton. Stand.
Come right up there.
Your Honor, if I may approach, I have a courtesy copy.
Great. Thank you.
I just did that.
Sure. Thank you.
It's close to 10, so you would get your attention.
Yeah,
Because I'm watching.
I said, yeah, we already got 3 people waiting. So.
Yeah. We've been waiting for me.
Okay.
Because there is one other witness that was subpoenaed, and his name is,
Lance Johnson, Your Honor, and I think we'd already
yes,
had a
Lance Johnson.
conversation that he was going to be on call.
Yes,
Who's here?
yeah, he was here last time, we swore him to come back, but he's,
Yeah, I remember we told him he's going to be on standby and we'll call him when we need him.
thank you.
What? You may proceed.
Ms. Bagnell, excuse me, Ms. Bolton, let's go down the list of things here that we've got. I'm gonna, and all these exhibits were provided to Mr. Ballard on the 18th. I want to offer or show you what's marked as S2, see if you can identify that.
Yes, this is the check from the title company.
That's a copy of the check and stuff.
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, we will offer S2 into evidence.
No objection.
See the S2 is admitted?
Yes, thank you. Bolton, I'll show you what's marked as S3. See if you can identify that, please.
Yes, this is from Community Bank from, when we had the house built on Drugs Road.
Okay, and would you tell the court the significance of that document, please?
Yes, this is the $200,000 check that was said that I wrote to myself. It was actually deposited into Community Bank.
Okay, so if I could direct your attention to the bottom, which says cash on hand from borrower, and the red, it says $200,000. Is that the amount of money that you put down on the purchase of the home at,
Yes,
is it Grubbs Road? Is that?
yes, Drugs Road.
Grubbs Road. Your Honor, we offer S3 of evidence.
No objection.
Exhibit S3 is admitted.
Show you a copy of document marked as S4 and ask you if you can identify that.
Yes, this is the check I wrote to open up the account at Community Bank so that we could have the house on Drugs Road built.
Okay, and is that the $200,000 that you used to put on deposit there with Community Bank?
Yes.
Your Honor, and what bank is that normally?
Community Bank?
This check.
This is from Chase Bank.
And we would offer
S4, is that S4? Yes. We offer S4 in evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
S4 is admitted.
Show you what's marked as S5, and as you can identify that document, please.
Yes, this is for first year rate.
And what is it?
It's a credit card.
What's the significance of that document?
That account has been closed for the last 5 years.
Now, it was closed before the divorce was granted, is that correct?
Correct.
We'd offer S5 in the evidence.
No objection.
Exhibit S5 is admitted.
I'll show you what's marked as X6, as you can identify that document.
Yes, these are all of the medical bills that I paid for Lydia and Stella.
And is that that's a
Yes,
breakout?
I made this spreadsheet to coincide with all of the doctor's receipts and the insurance payments that were made.
And I believe also is attached there is the backup from the prescription.
Yes, this
At
is,
Walgreens.
yes, Walgreens.
Okay, and those were provided to Mr. Bagnell prior to the hearing last month, is that correct?
Yes,
Your Honor, we would offer is it 6?
yes.
S6 is the evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
S6 is admitted.
I'll show you what's marked as S7. Ask if you can identify that. All right.
Yes, this is from the Attorney General's office, the payment record,
And what does it show or reflect?
that no payment was made.
Now, in your original divorce decree, which Judge Lee signed back in January, you provided that all payments be made through the Child Support Division, is that correct?
Yes,
Have you ever received any payments through the Child Support Division?
only one, and that was the one after we just went to court this past.
Would that have been for September?
Yes,
So all the other payments were not made through, is that correct?
correct.
We offer S7 in the evidence, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
S7 is admitted.
Show you what's marked as S8, ask you to identify that document.
Yes, this is the contract that you and I signed when I hired you.
Okay, and that's for attorney's fees, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that actually includes all the way back to the original divorce and subsequent, is that right?
Yes, sir.
We would offer S8 into the evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
S8 is admitted.
Offer, show you what's been marked as S9, if you ask you to identify that document.
Yes, this is unfortunately the bill that I owe you.
And what does that include pre-divorce, or everything for the divorce up through the enforcement action of Mr. Bagnell?
Yes,
And then, but subsequent, does it also include everything up through the 18th of September?
yes,
And we would offer S9,
yes, sir.
S9 in the evidence.
Any objection?
Just object to hearsay.
Okay, that's objections overruled and S9 is admitted.
Show you what's marked as S11. Ask you if you can identify that.
Yes, this is a picture that Olivia took of the hotel room from one of the overnight visits with Robert.
And what's significant about that?
There's only one bed in one room.
And we will offer S11 in the evidence, Your Honor.
Judge, I'll object to hearsay and also object to improper predicate.
Yes. Can this witness say that the photograph truly and accurately depicts the scene?
As far as you know, does this actually truly and accurately depict the scene of the hotel room that the children stayed in during one of their visits with Mr. Baker?
Yes.
I'm sorry, you rule on that objection.
Objection sustained.
Show you what's been marked as exhibit S12.
And ask you if you can identify that.
Yeah, the first set of pictures are from when we got married. When Michael and I got married in May.
Well, I'm sorry, when you and what?
Michael, Mr. Bolton. The second photograph is the girls' Easter baskets with Jaden. The next photograph is the girls' first day of school, after school, because the girls wanted to wait and get their picture taken with Jaden. The next one is of the girls swimming together, all three of the girls. The next photograph is we were in Sargent out on the boat. We had been fishing. And the last picture is of Olivia getting her National Honor Society certificate that's in April. And she was adopted.
Okay, are you familiar with all these photographs?
Yes, sir.
Did you take the photographs?
Yes.
And are they? do they
Well,
have-
I know, I'm gonna say no, but this is from the photographer, the first one. Oh, the rest, yes.
Do they fairly and accurately depict what they claim to be, or what you claim they are?
Yes.
Okay. Or we would offer these evidence.
Any objection to S12?
Objection to relevance.
Okay, objections overruled and S12 is admitted.
For board is S13, as you can identify that.
Yeah, this is Olivia's certificate for National Honor Society.
Okay, and in that, that's Olivia's the oldest child, is that correct?
Yes.
And then what else is attached?
These are all of her track ribbons from last year.
And is that a picture of the awards that she won?
Yes, it also includes, Olivia was asked to be in the Math Olympics last year as well. And so she received an award for that. And the one where it says 6th place that's her art award.
That's her what award?
Art,
Okay, now, do these pictures, you took these pictures, is that right?
yes,
So you're familiar with everything? They
Yes, this
fairly
is-
and accurately.
yes.
One at a time, please.
They fairly and accurately depict what they purport to be, is that right?
Yes.
Your Honor, we would offer S13 as evidence.
Any objection to S13?
This judge object to S13 on grounds of relevance and hearsay. Yes.
And for my clarification, what's the difference between the photograph in S12 that was the National Honor Society certificate and an S13?
It's the same, it's just one I was able to take. This one is hanging up in her room. This is just her holding it at school.
All right, so objections overruled and S13 is admitted.
We'll show you what's been marked as S14 and S15, as you can identify.
Yes, the first one you handed me is S14 is Stella's progress report for this current 9 weeks at school.
And what's S15?
And S15 is Olivia's progress report.
Now, where did those documents come from?
These come from it's the parent portal online from Big Academy.
So you have access to the parent portal, is that correct?
Yes,
And you're able to download the documents.
yes,
Does Mr. Bagnell have access to the parent portal?
yes,
He's also able to download.
yes.
Correct. Okay. Your Honor, we would offer S14 and S15. That's
Object to hearsay and relevance.
Okay, so objection sustained.
In the original case that was filed regarding the temporary restraining order, which was filed and served on the ex parte, during the original divorce case, did you go through discovery in that case?
Yes,
And did you provide all of the copies of documents to Mr. Bagnall's attorney or to me, and I provided them to the attorney?
yes, sir.
And did you hide any assets?
No, sir.
Do you have any assets that were not disclosed on your inventory?
No,
Now your case, you went to mediation, is that right?
yes,
And the case settled in mediation.
yes,
And in the mediation, all the assets and liabilities were divided up, is that correct?
yes,
Did you hold back any information during that time?
no, sir.
You, let's go to the enforcement on the division, or excuse me, let's go back to the enforcement on the child support. Tell the judge how many times Mr. Bagnall's paid his child support.
Never. Except for on September 1st.
Now, in the divorce decree, he's supposed to pay it on the first of the month, is that correct?
On or before, yes.
And has he ever done that?
No, sir.
And typically, how many days late is it?
Usually it's between the 8th and the 15th, and the school payment is usually made at least 20 days late.
Now, let's talk about the school payment. Was that that was part of the mediated settlement? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Bagnall agreed to that?
Yes.
He agreed to pay $500 a week, I believe, is that right?
Yes.
And those are for, that's for tuition for the girls at Faith Academy, is that right?
Correct.
Now, tuition's due on the first of the month. Has he ever paid it on the first of the month?
Catching you out outside the scope of the pleadings. My question.
Is that part of the enforcement action?
Yes, it is, Judge. We've asked that the court.
Guess objections overruled.
Mr. Bagnall has never paid his child support or his payment to Faith Academy in time. Is that correct?
Can I say something?
You
If
can
he's
answer the
actually,
question. Just answer the question.
yes, correct.
Now, if you, if the payments are paid in advance for the year, you get a discount. Is that right?
Yes,
And it's a significant amount of money. Is that correct?
$1,500.
So if you pay the full year in advance for both girls, you would get a $1,500 reduction in the cost.
Yes,
Did you bring this information to the attention of Mr. Bagnall?
yes,
And did he offer to pay his share of expenses in advance?
no,
Now, if you had had the money from the sale of the house, could you have done it?
yes,
And would you have done it? With regard to the medical expenses for the children, tell the court how you would handle the medical expenses.
Up until March of this last year, I actually never asked Robert to reimburse me. It wasn't until Olivia needed medication, and then he said he wasn't going to pay for it. I needed to pay for it. And then after going back and forth on text messages, he said, fine, but I'm going to ask you for the 50%. And then that's when I said, okay, then I will do the same. But up until then, I had never asked him to reimburse me, nor was I going to.
Okay, so under the divorce decree, he's supposed to reimburse you 50%.
Yes,
of the uninsured medical, is that right? Which would include medical for good, well doctor visits, sick children visits, prescriptions and things like that that are not covered, is that correct?
correct,
Co-pays and so.
correct.
And did you provide Mr. Bagnall a list of all those expenses that he owed in a timely fashion as required under the court order?
Actually, no, because I was not going to ask him to pay until he didn't want to pay for Olivia's puffer for her asthma
Okay, but when did you start asking him to reimburse you?
in March of this year.
And were there any expenses subsequent to that, to March of 2020?
Yes,
Did he pay them?
we know, because I didn't ask.
Okay, so you did not ask him to reimburse you?
Not up until he refused to pay for Olivia's puffer on when he had her.
Okay, so up until that time, there was what, approximately $392, which has been paid, is that correct?
Yes,
In the divorce decree, Mr. Bagnall was ordered to pay, or excuse me, to take out 2 life insurance policies in the amount of, I believe it was $250,000 each for each of the children. Is that correct?
yes,
Did he do that?
not that I'm aware.
Have you received those policies?
No,
Has he indicated to you that he's paid, that he has done so?
no,
And then also in per the mediated settlement agreement, in the final decree, Mr. Bagnall was to, the first $20,000 in the sale of the house was to be paid to Chase Bank, is that right?
correct.
Now, did Mr. Bagnall give his portion of that $20,000 before September 1st?
No,
And so until judge ordered that money to come out of the registry court, he had refused to give his share of it, is that right?
correct.
Now, tell the court what that money was for.
It was to pay off the credit card for Chase Bank that I had been using to cover the expenses during the divorce.
And what expenses were those?
I paid for the electricity, the gas tank at the house to be filled, the homeowner's insurance, and any other expenses that the girls needed.
Food?
Yes,
So it was expenses of the marriage, is that right? So you didn't go take a trip around the world?
no, we did not take any trips on the road, no.
All right, now let's talk about the modification of possession and access. Tell the court we're asking the judge to that Mr. Bolton's, excuse me, Mr. Bagnall's possession and access be supervised. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Why?
Until the girls can reestablish a healthy relationship with them, I think that's what's best.
Okay, what things have happened that the girls have related to you regarding their time with their father?
Where there was the instance, where he was late on January 11th. And so, at the time, we were still living at Rubbs Road next door to my parents. And so the girls walked over and, Stella called me on FaceTime from the bathroom, screaming and crying because my mother had thrown him to the ground.
Hearsay?
Yeah, objection sustained. And we
Okay,
don't want to close the doors. We just keep people quiet because it's going to get way hot in here and very quick if we shut the doors.
So, as far as Mr. Bagnall, what has he told you regarding his living arrangements?
he's homeless.
Is he made that, he told you that he was homeless?
Yes, in several emails, he's homeless
And where does he live right now, as far as you know?
with his girlfriend, and she lives in the Woodlands. That's the address he provides.
All right, now, tell the court why you, in the temporary orders and in the final decree, Mr. Wagner was to have, in his time with the girls, was to have accommodations where they had their own bedroom.
Yes, that was the arrangement that I made.
Why?
Because there were issues with him and the girls,
I'm sorry, there were issues with what?
between Robert and the girls.
Okay, what issues?
The girls didn't like it that he would walk around in front of them without clothes on.
Objection, hearsay.
Objection sustained.
Now, let's go to some of the, when was the last time Mr. Wagner was at the girls' school?
That was on Western Day last week.
When was that?
Western Day?
Last year,
Yes.
in October of last year?
I actually think it was, they had two, I believe it was in the spring. They had 2 Western Days.
And were you there?
Yes.
What happened?
He came in, and they were, elementary does a dance, like a Western dance. And he videoed Stella and took pictures of her, and it made her upset, and she cried. And then after
Objection
that,
calls for speculation.
Objection overruled.
and then they made the announcements, well, parents could go to the classrooms. And then I went with Stella to get her bag, and it was at the end of the day, and they made the announcements for parents to leave. However, Robert didn't leave after the first announcement, and then he waited outside in the parking lot.
What happened in the parking lot?
He actually spoke with one of the other parents for several hours at the door
Okay.
in the
And
parking lot.
did anything else happen?
Yes, it was right where my vehicle was parked. And so, they had someone else move my vehicle because it was Stella.
Objection, witness testifying on the narrative.
Objection overruled.
Stella was so upset. And it was a Thursday, so it was our day to have Jaden. And I didn't want there to be any issues because Jaden didn't understand what was happening or why Stella was upset. So one of the teachers moved my vehicle, and then we went out the side door and left.
So in your opinion, was Mr. Wagner causing some kind of scene at the school?
For Stella, yes.
What is that, what kind of effect does that have on the girls?
Objection calls for speculation.
You know,
Objection overruled.
Usually after those kinds of instances on Fridays, they have to take tests. They have to do Bible tests every single Friday, spelling tests every Friday, vocabulary tests every Friday. Typically, the girls, you can see by their report cards, are straight A students, and they will get a lower grade. Usually it's in the low 80s or high 70s.
now you're asking the court to order Mr. Wagner to have supervised visits of the children, is that correct?
Yes.
And why is that?
Because I think that they have an unhealthy relationship.
Do you feel like they, you think it would be in their best interest to have supervised visits with their father?
Yes.
Um,
Until they can maintain a healthy relationship.
Now, the last time we were down here on September 1st, Judge ordered some supervised visits for Mr. Wagner, is that correct?
Yes.
And what happened on that night? You remember the date?
Yes. It was,
Was it September 5th?
yes, sir. I dropped the girls off at the horse ranch 15 minutes early so they could get their horses ready. When I was leaving, Robert pulled in, so the girls were already there. And then I came back to pick them up at 3 o'clock and, only to find both of the girls, upset.
What were they upset about?
That he had videoed and taken pictures of them the entire time, even though they asked him not to. It makes the girls uncomfortable.
And the girls, they rent these horses, is that correct?
Yes, I paid for horse riding lessons on a regular basis.
Okay. And so did you pay for the girls to ride
Yes,
that day?
I paid for the horse riding lessons.
Okay, and then Mr. Bagnell, did he pay for his horse?
No,
And did you end up having to pay for his
yes, I
horse?
paid for his horse.
Why did he not pay his?
Objection, calls for speculation.
Objection sustained.
How much did you have to pay?
I paid $50 for the girls and $25 for Robert.
Now, there was an additional date that was set for the 20th of September, is that correct?
Yes,
And what happened that day?
there was no visitation.
Why?
I had sent a text message to Genevieve to confirm because Olivia wanted to take her own horse that day. She didn't want to ride one of Genevieve's. She wanted to take her own. And so I was making arrangements so that we could take the horse a couple of days earlier. That way there would not be any interruptions during that visitation. And she then told me that visitation is going to take
Objection,
place.
hearsay.
Objection sustained. As to what that lady said.
So basically, the
The visitation is canceled.
did Genevieve decide that she didn't want to supervise the children? Is that correct?
Yes, she,
Objection, hearsay.
Yeah, well,
Calls for speculation.
objection be overruled, but you can't say what she
yes.
said, just what happened.
What happened?
She withdrew herself,
So there was no visitation on the 20th, is that correct?
correct.
Now we filed a motion to modify the child, the possession and access, asking the court for supervised visits on the second and fourth as opposed to the first and third weekends. Is that correct?
Yes,
What'd you tell the judge for?
yes. Not only are Stella and Aiden classmates, but they're sisters now too. And so the girls love being together. So I had asked previously if we could make those changes so that the girls could have their weekends together.
And who did you ask?
Robert,
What was his response?
no,
Did he give you a reason or anything?
no. But
Now, with regard to the TRO that the court issued, what kind of problems does that cause you not having access to?
I haven't been able to pay my bills on time.
Okay, and what bills are those?
Yours attorney fees,
What else?
the credit card payments,
What else have you not been able to?
and not being able to pay tuition.
And so you're paying it on a monthly basis?
Yes,
You weren't able to take advantage of any of the discounts?
no,
You're asking the court to grant your motion for modification and for sanction, the sanctions for Bagnell for getting a TRO based upon false affidavit, is that correct?
yes.
Um, Let's talk about Mr. Bagnell's visitations with the children in the divorce decree. There was a step up for him to have visitation, is that correct?
Yes,
Tell the court what that step up included.
that if you were to meet more than 50% of scheduled visitation, then you would get standard.
Okay, and there was a time frame on that, is that right?
Yes,
And when was he supposed to reach 50.1%?
June 1st.
Did he do that?
No.
How far off? Let's see.
He had met 10%.
So instead of 50%, he only made 10% of the visits?
Correct.
Was he out of the country at the time? Or do you know why he didn't make his visits with his children?
A couple of times he was away at work, yes,
Okay,
but not often.
did he try to reschedule those times?
There was only one time where we agreed to change visits.
Okay, and when was that?
We made the agreement in December to change from January 4th to January 11th.
And why was that?
There was a church function that Hope City that he wanted to attend.
And so you wanted to take the girls with him?
No, he did not want to have girls on this weekend.
So apparently it seems like it's still on. Meeting is now streaming live, so you should be able to go. And see waiting room,
Click on that. Let's see.
admit all. I'll be right back. Okay, Judge, and bring your pad.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Good morning, Your Honor. How are you?
Good, good.
It's nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. Okay, so as soon as we get everybody connected, we can get started.
Yes, sir.
And are the witnesses going to have copies of documents, or do we need to refer to things in the file?
They've already reviewed the documents and everything's already been filed with their signature on it. So I think it's just a matter of asking the questions.
Sounds good. And I have the file in front of me. Let's see if I have an order. Okay, so I have an order admitting the will. Okay,
Yes, Your Honor.
all right. So what witnesses will you have?
We have Stephanie Salazar, who I believe is the one that's SRCU that's trying to connect right now because
Okay,
works at the credit union, and Mr. Lytle was on the board of the credit union. So she was also the notary that signed the will.
okay.
And then my client, Miss Lytle's on the phone. And then I believe her mother, also Philippi, Courtney is your mom. Where's your mom?
She's here.
She's with you. Okay, perfect. So we're just waiting on Stephanie. Your Honor, if the court would like, I can go ahead and proceed and ask Ms. Lytle and her mother the questions, and we'll wait for
Sure.
Salazar to connect.
All right, so I can get, I guess, Miss Courtney Lytle and her mother to raise their right hands. And do you and each of you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you may proceed.
Okay, Courtney, I'm going to go ahead and ask your mom questions first, so if you could turn the camera so the judge can see her. Okay, please state your full name for the record.
Felipe Muriel Kuntz Lytle.
Okay, and you were previously married to her father, is that correct?
Yes, I was.
And you have reviewed the document which we have filed, which has been the last will and testament of your ex-husband, is that correct?
Yes.
And over the years of the two of you being married, you had the opportunity to see him write documents as well as sign documents. The handwriting and signature that are on that document, which is his last will and testament, is his handwriting and his signature. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you believe that on the date that he signed that document that he was of sound mind and over the age of 18.
Yes.
And there were no children born to or adopted by him after the date that he signed that will. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's all the questions I have of this witness, Your Honor.
Okay, and how do you spell your first name?
P as in Paul, Hilli, P as in Paul, I.
Great, thank you. All right, so you can call your next.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Lytle. You are asking the court to appoint you as the independent executor of your father's estate. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the last will and testament leaves his entire estate to you. Is that correct?
Correct.
Your father passed away on May 30th of 2020 in Houston, Harris County, Texas. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
But he was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence in Austin County when he passed. Is that correct?
Correct.
He was married twice during his lifetime, once to Joanne Cluis on August 10th, 1973, and that marriage ended in divorce. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then he was married to your mother on February 14th of 1980, and they were divorced in December of 1998 in Harris County. Is that correct?
Correct.
Your father's only child. Is that correct?
Correct.
And there were no other children that were born to or adopted by him during his lifetime.
Correct.
And you are qualified to serve as the independent executor, not disqualified. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you're asking this court to appoint you as the independent executor to serve without bond and to waive appraisers as this estate is not taxable. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lytle.
It looks like Ms. Salazar may be on via audio, but not video.
Okay.
Ms. Salazar, are you there?
Yes,
Okay. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
I am glad to be here. I thought I was on the video, but I'm just audio.
That's fine.
From my limited knowledge, if you go down to the lower left-hand corner of your screen, there should be something that says video and like a camera icon. If you see that, sometimes it's either on or off.
Okay, let me check around for that.
It should be like I said, I'm sorry, the lower left of your screen. If you go down there, do you see, it probably says stop video and then like it's either camera or it looks like a little rectangle with a triangle next to it.
Oh, now I just totally lost all of
Yeah.
it. I'm so sorry. Oh, wow. I am so sorry. I am just cannot find that. Start video. Okay. There I am. Okay.
There you
Thank you for
go.
your help.
I've learned a few things over the past few months. All right, so then if I can get you to raise your right hand, Ms. Salazar, you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you may proceed.
Ms. Salazar, you knew Mr. Lytle because he was on the board at the credit union where you work. Is that correct?
Correct.
And during his tenure on the board, you had the opportunity to see him sign documents. And in fact, you were the notary on this will. Is that correct?
Correct.
And on the date that he signed this will, he was of sound mind and over the age of 18.
Correct. Yes.
And so the document that we filed as his last will and testament, you are confident that is his signature as you were present, watched him sign it, and you're confident about his mental capacity because you knew him and you had the opportunity to speak with him during the time that he signed that will. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. For 17 years. Correct.
All right. That's all I have, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Salazar.
Thank you.
All right, anything else, Mr. Morris?
No, Your Honor.
All right, well then, based on the testimony, I admit the will into probate and appoint Ms. Courtney Lytle as independent executor of the estate. There'll be an inventory that'll be due in 90 days, and Mr. Morris can help you get that put together. And so, Mr. Morris, are you going to get the proof of death signed, or has that already been done?
Those have already been signed and filed, Your Honor.
Okay, great. So I will take the order down to the clerk's office, and I guess you just have to contact them to see about getting letters.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank
All
you
right,
so much
anything
for your
else?
time this morning. No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye.